Hello, everyone. Happy 2025. I know it's the 17th, but you know what? Happy 2025. I'm allowed to say it. Don't get angry with me. Um, it's been an amazing year in 2024. We're really excited what's happening in 2025. I've got some amazing guests coming on. I wanted to do a little intro and have a talk about what's coming up. So I today had the opportunity of getting James Mobbs to have a really good conversation with him about hospitality in 2025, some tips and tricks that you should all be doing. It's going to be a tough year and we need to use the right tools in place. So that was a really good chat. I then had the opportunity to have Kieron Bailey on, and we talked about upselling and the industry. And had a really good chat. So hopefully you'll have a really good listen to this podcast. It's just a small snippet. Next week, back to normal with the rollout.
Hello, everyone. There we go. Welcome to my first time using Riverside. Oh, I better not put my hand up because I've got a light just here, making that nice light.
Nice
Welcome
precise.
to me using Riverside. I've never used it before, but today we're doing a little catch up with a few people. To be fair, James is going to come on the podcast at some point when I get him to London. But I'm meeting you. What next? Is it next week? We're meeting you.
Yeah, we're going for a
Yeah.
smash burger double date
I'm
on
very
Monday.
excited. Very excited for that. I haven't been back there since it opened. So yeah, that's a good thing to look at. But James, thank you for joining. And I'll let you introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and where you come from.
Yeah, cool. I mean, where I come from the north, right? Which is ultimately why we haven't really got round to doing the podcast. My days in London are limited, and when they are, they're normally stacked pretty back to back with client meetings. So,
Yeah, and I need at least an hour and a bit, right?
pardon?
I need at least an hour and a bit of your time.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why it'll be nice to come down and just eat burgers and drink a beer on
Yeah.
Monday. um, So hello, so I am James Mobbs. I've been working in this industry for 20 plus years. Started washing pots at the age of about 13. So yeah, a long time. It's the only industry I've ever worked in. It is well and truly in my blood. But yeah, spent the last kind of 10 years or so in head of and director level roles in marketing or in insights. Had a couple of years with Anne Elliott as well, so I've kind of got this mix of I guess, kind of consultant or agency side. I've worked in house for Ego restaurants and for East Coast Concepts. We've got two brands, Victor's and Neighbourhood, but then also spent some time working at Airship. So I've got this like weird mix of supplier, agency, and in-house, and a bit of everything. But about 6 months ago, halfway through last year, set up as a freelance marketing consultant, obviously focusing very much in hospitality and hospitality tech suppliers, really covering kind of four key areas. So research and insight, data and CRM, loyalty and retention, and then kind of campaigns and launches. So don't really go too near social, don't really do too much research. I'm not a designer, I'm not a photographer, anything like that. So yeah, much more in the data and the CRM and the kind of research side of things.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of your Excel sheets or Google sheets that you've been sharing with the crazy amounts of data. You're definitely a
Yes.
data head, 100%
Yeah, a little
on that
bit.
one. But thank you, I appreciate that. And so the purpose of this call really is to sort of, I guess, 2025 insights or suggestions. What do you see? What do you recommend people start doing for 2025? I was on a link to a recent pod, and they were talking all in the US, talking about no one has automation set up and blah blah blah, just the basics. Even people still they mentioned Mailchimp 3 times, and I was crying, unfortunately. So and they've got some cool in the US, some cool CRMs, but I think we've got some better ones over here, to be fair. But anyway, I digress. Be interesting to hear what pointers you can give our mutual clients, our clients, or the industry for a good fighting chance for this first quarter, because it's a bit quiet right at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's going to be a tough year, unfortunately. Um, yeah, it's going to be a challenge and a scrap for bums,
Yes.
unfortunately. And without wanting to make you sad again, Adam, I think it really is just focus on the basics. Like, there's so many there's so many missed opportunities out there. Like the missed opportunities of just getting. I'm kind of an email geek, right? And that's not to say like forget about social and forget about search. They're massively powerful as well, but just the return on investment that you get just from good old-fashioned email. It is the best converting, the cheapest form of marketing communications, right? Especially within our industry. And there is still the majority, and I'd say the majority, I'd probably say the vast majority, the newsletter sign up on a website is like that tiny little box right down the bottom of the website where no one ever gets, like no one goes that deep on a website. When you look at kind of heat map tracking, like no one gets that far. And if they do, it's like sign up to get news. And you're like, it's pretty dull. Like we work in a fun, vibrant, fast-paced, exciting industry that people love and people are excited by and people want to go out and try new things and do new things. And it's like, get news if you make it to the bottom of our website, right? There's so many missed opportunities like around getting people signing up and then just putting the basics in place. Like I think you're looking really between, so the power of having someone opted in versus not opted in is about 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 extra visits per year. Okay, it's kind of where it's at, which doesn't sound like much, but one person visits 0.3 times more with 3 other people, spends £20 a head. You're talking about £18 of incremental revenue. So every person you have opted into your database is worth about £18 opted in, and that's if you spend per head is 20 quid, right? If you spend per head is 40 quid, that becomes 36 quid, right? Every person you opt in can be worth that much. Yet databases, you're still seeing 50%, typically 50% of your database is opted out. If you're collecting opted in and opted out data, you've got 50% sitting there not even opted in. And then, just the lack of automations set up. Again, sometimes I think people think that visit frequency is higher than it is. And actually visit frequency is quite low. Like about 20% of guests that visit will come and visit again in the next 12 months. Again, not everyone. If you're QSR, if you're cafe and stuff, it's going to be different. But talking kind of casual dining space. And so you need to be focusing on those real big buckets. People on your database that have got 0 visits, there's plenty of them. It sounds weird, but there's plenty of them. Those that have got 1 visit and those that have got 2 visits. If you just focus on nudging those people a tiny percentage of the way along that line, like that will make a massive difference incrementally to your revenue. You're talking like 95% of people in your database will sit within that kind of area. So focus on those opportunities, do the basics. Honestly, it is mad how many people just don't have some basic automations set up. We don't need to send, whilst the idea of sending an email to under 30-year-olds who are vegans, who eat with us on a Monday, that haven't eaten in the last 50 days and spent £100 last year. Like, sounds great, but it's like, we just don't need to do that.
What do you think? What do you think is the most powerful automation out there? Obviously, I remember because back in the day, I was listening to a podcast actually about a month ago from the original founder of Fishbowl, which then changed its name and then back to Fishbowl. They were like the first people to have like the open table integration ever, like in the beginning, and then they changed their brand and they disappeared off the face of the earth. But they were like the first people to build the birthday automation. But what do you find is the best automation to start with, like just the first piece?
Birthdays.
The birthdays. Yeah.
It's so simple. Like, and people, the thing I then find mad is people ask you for date of birth, but then do nothing with it as well. So the amount of people that when you sign up on the website, they'll ask you for date of birth, but then don't do anything for your birthday. Like, it's not necessarily about like giving something away. You can give something away, you can give something big away, you can give something small away, you can give nothing away, but just tell people, just remind people. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter if it's their birthday or not. It doesn't matter if they're making it up or not. Again, like, think about the power of having someone opted in and then email them, right? It's as simple as that. Like, it doesn't take rocket science. I think one of my clients last year, we booked in about 800 birthdays per site per year. Okay, so it's about 15 a week. Right, if you times that up on an average spend per head, for them it's about 60 grand.
Wow.
So 60 grand per site per year. Okay, 50% of that was coming already, maybe. Right, I don't know. Like, what's the incremental of that versus some were going to come anyway? You might have discounted some anyway. So let's chop that in half. and say 30k per site per year. Do you want 30k per site per year for putting in 4 birthday emails, like with a nice reward to follow up?
Yeah.
It's simple, but it doesn't. Another one I've just, because I'm funny enough, I'm doing a lot of this for RMI at the moment, my RMI speech, so I know all the numbers. Other ones that just don't have to be super clever and super pretty, and I think sometimes people think they have to be really designed and sexy and good looking, like the simple ones out the back of your booking platform. So I was looking at cancellation, right? Or cancellation emails, which is quite literally just a text email that gets sent if you cancel your booking. Hey Adam, sorry your plans changed. Thanks for letting us know. Would love to book you back in again. No offer, no reward, no nothing, but here's my personal link.
Yeah.
Book through it next time you come in.
I wish more people would do that. And I do actually wish that the reservations platforms allowed you to do more with it. Because
So then signed by James, general manager of the Riverside Cafe, right? Whatever it is. So that brought in per site per year 8k.
Yeah.
Just those emails. £8,000 just off the back of those emails. Again, some of them were going to come again, some of them weren't going to come again. Chop it in half and you've got £4,000, right?
Yeah.
Just for that. So just focusing on the basics and I think simplicity. So yeah.
Okay. And CRM wise, I know you had a favorite, but if people are starting out, what do you recommend? Because we have to have a CRM with automations, because I know Mailchimp is out there, but it doesn't do the best job in the world or tracking. What do you recommend CRM wise?
Look, the reality is if you're just starting out in this game like Airship, right? And obviously you know the guys there, and it's a kind of obvious answer. Because it's really inexpensive, it's really quick and easy to get up. The chances are they're integrated with what you're already integrated with. There's loads of people that use it, so there's loads of people that can help you and support you and advise you on what to do, and just get going. There is no
barrier to entry.
I don't know what the Mailchimp cost is, right? But Airship, the cost, like the barrier to entry from a cost perspective from Airship is minimal, like versus what the return it can give you. Look, and then there are other ones out there. There are more expensive ones that come with, additional functionality and that are, Axial integrated into Meta, which is fantastic to be able to fully track through that across platforms. And it's got more stuff around web tracking, and then you can get some even smarter ones where you can manipulate the content on your website based on what email they read and all of this stuff. But if you're just starting out, if you're in that basics place, like you can't go wrong with Airship.
When you did, I remember a while ago we spoke and you did your little sign up. Sorry, one moment. Let's get rid of that call. When you did your sign up, how many websites? I don't know if you can share this, but how many websites did you? Because I can cut it if not. Did actually come back to you? Because I don't remember asking you what the result was, but I think you signed up to about a load of places.
Yeah. So this is for my RMI speech, which is
not. Oh, okay. No, don't worry. We want to let's hold that one because I'm really interested to after RMI. I want you to post it, please, because it'll be really interesting to understand because you did quite a big project there. To see it.
I mean, to summarize this, I signed it to 100 operators, 100 databases, about 6 months basically for 180 days, 177 days it was technically. So and then analysed everything that I got from that to come up with some quite interesting findings.
I will say for me, I think one I quite like for that pop up, the sign up is the Honest Burgers £5 offer. I think that is, and I try and get people to use that as a benchmark, as an idea, because the average spend they get coming in is always way more, and it's really interesting because I don't know anyone else sort of doing that, and so on. And I don't know if. I know. I forget the group, but they've got the subscription model now. So I think. I think. Say again. Gusto. Yes. Yeah. And I spoke to one of the girls there who she was in an event in London about a year and a bit ago, and I was like having a chat with her. I was very clever. That whole model, I think, moving forward is a game changer. Really clever.
And I think you see more of that stuff. There's more of that stuff going on in the US. I think there's more of that stuff going on in the Middle East, and what have you as well. But then, I was speaking to someone the other day, interestingly, about WhatsApp and like WhatsApp bookings.
Yes.
And it's funny because it just isn't used for business much over here.
No.
At all. Other than for when I say business, I mean in terms of restaurants, right? In terms of restaurant booking stuff. But again, it's massive in the Middle East. Like huge
Yeah.
numbers of people are just booking via WhatsApp, and it's the kind of a communication channel.
And the
It's
weird
not,
thing is a lot of them are doing it manually. To be fair, anyway. I mean,
yeah,
being going to a hotel about a year ago, the concierge was all WhatsApp, and it wasn't automated. But
yep,
there's a guy who set up a platform. I'll share it later to you. That's built a Resdari integration into WhatsApp now for Facebook
okay,
messaging, for WhatsApp. No, WhatsApp's not ready yet. Facebook messaging's in,
yep,
and it's plugging it into more Res, which is really interesting because there are the big ones
yep,
that that are out there like Big Table Group use the phone. But I think moving forward this year is going to be really interesting to see that tech being plugged in for automation on Res. Can I book a table for X? Bringing
yep.
that barrier to easier. But anyway, last words. What are your last words to share to everyone? Obviously, RMI has come up as well, so I'm sure they will see you there. But last words for this little video.
Last words. Look, I think you need to, as a like a marketing director or someone in that space, you kind of need to split your time, right? I think there's a massive opportunity just to focus on basics, just to look at what other people are doing, look at how your basics are performing and improve them, but then also like go and do some fun, exciting stuff, right? Because that is also important, and it's important to look at new technology that's come along, things that might game change, things that are new to market, right? Everyone's talking about like obviously AI, and I'm sure AI is going to be mentioned loads at RMI,
Mhm.
and I think they're fun things to play with, right? And so AI is going to like naturally save us time and make our lives easier and stuff now. Is it at the point of revolutionizing businesses? I don't think so quite yet, because we still need that human element, but
Mm.
also because it still feels a bit kind of siloed. You've got your CRM AI, I've got my AI on my feedback, I've got my AI on my rotors and teams, I've got my AI on my ops and costs and right, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Currently, they're all still kind of siloed, right?
Fragmented. Mm.
Yeah, which means that I focus still on my stuff and everyone just focuses on their things. And I think until we get to the point where there's something that actually can bring that together, that's when it suddenly becomes like massively game changing, so that I can start to link my employee experience with my guest experience, with my sales and marketing,
Yeah.
like with my rotoring to get like a much clearer picture, because they all impact each other, right? If you've got unhappy team, you're going to have unhappy guests. It's going to hit you. It's going to hit your revenue, and it
Yeah.
probably won't hit your revenue now. It will hit your revenue in 6 months' time,
But you need those
right?
markers, right? You need the markers.
Yeah, it will hit you, and equally, if you've got a really happy team and you've got a really happy guest, and you're up on that, and that's an improvement from where you were. Again, it's going to be 6 months before you see that,
Mm.
because people only go twice a year, pretty much maximum. Like not even many people go twice a year, so like you only see that impact after a long time. So I think until kind of AI can start to link all of these pieces together over longer term, that's when I think it can be kind of real game changers. But
That's definitely an interesting thing to listen to. I think so Tenzo's out there for the data, so it'd be interesting if Tenzo could pull the other data in on the marketing side. And I think then you really do have, because they already pull most of the data, but they don't touch anything to do with CRM or marketing. So
no, I know. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I spoke to Christian just before Christmas, and I think that sales and marketing piece is
that's
not.
massive.
I don't think currently looking to bring in. Where he is, which is interesting, is bringing in feedback
Yeah,
data. So I'm pretty sure they're working at the moment with Honest Burgers, so use Feed It Back. So they're pulling that Feed It Back data in, I believe. I'm going to catch
amazing.
up with him how it's doing, but then to be able to overlay that guest feedback data with sales data, right, and start to
Yeah,
properly track, does improving guest experience improve spend per head? Does it improve sales again over time? Does it improve staff performance and stuff? So I think that's where it will be interesting. And then you've got Joel from Missouri, their project Opener. Opa?
oh no, was that one?
I'll send you the link to that as well. I
Yeah,
can
do.
put it in the notes. But yeah, it looks quite
Yeah,
exciting.
amazing. All right, James, thank you very much. Give everyone a wave goodbye, and thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Have a great weekend, and I appreciate your time. And I'll see you
All
next
right.
week.
Cheers, Adam. See you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
It's got a
Hello,
pulpit.
everyone. This is take two. So hopefully you would have heard not take two, but even the second part of the video. So I'm really pleased to have Kieron. on here. First time I'm using Riverside, so bear with me. I'm new to this part of the game. Usually, I like the in person. So, Kieron, I will be getting you coming into the office, but please introduce yourself, who you do, what you do, who you are, and a little intro.
Who do I do? Good question. Good question. My wife's watching, so just her. Sorry, that's terrible. So my name's Kieron Bailey. I'm the founder of People on Purpose, and I am obsessed at the moment with helping people, our people within the industry, to be more purposeful with their decision making. So whether that's their leadership, whether that's within their guest experience, I want them to make good decisions, and I want to be able to give them the tools to be able to be able to do that on a daily basis. It frustrates me tremendously, Adam, when I see it not happening. Having spent 25 years in operations, I kind of think it's not that tricky. So let's do it. Let's motivate people to get it done right, motivate people to do it well, and really give them the tools and the strategies to be able to make that happen. So that, my friend, in a nutshell, is me.
I like that. That's nice. That's good. I wish I could roll that off the tongue as easy as you, but you've got a little bit more experience. Okay, so we're talking about 2025. You know, how recommendations, things that you can recommend to. We're going to post this on the pod and online. That you can suggest for our lovely friends in hospitality to help their business, because it's going to be a tough year, right? This year's going to be tricky.
I mean, it's not going to be an easy one for anybody, I think, to be fair. And I mean, you look at some amazing folks out there who are doing incredible work, and they're talking about the struggles and challenges that they're facing. So if there's incredible people struggling, then those run-of-the-mill folks like me, who are undoubtedly going to be doing their absolute best to get through, are going to be facing the challenges. So I love this. I think any tools that we can give people to really kind of think about what comes next, and how they make 25 work for them, because let's not just stop and wait and hope that it works for us. Let's make it work for us, is a simple answer.
And so we were talking earlier about I'll let you tell it, but we were talking about upselling. It'd be interesting to that's your bag you're banging on at the moment, right?
It's my obsession, I think, is the polite way to describe it. Yeah, man, it annoys me. It genuinely annoys me that like people don't see the opportunity that will come with that. And I think there's many reasons why, to be fair. You know, I think back to my days as an operator, there were some cultural reasons. I had a lot of Spanish folks working for me who felt truly uncomfortable upselling because they felt like they were taking advantage of the guests. They felt like they were just leaning in too much. But then last week I was chatting to somebody in a local coffee shop, and they just didn't feel good asking the questions. And when I kind of look at that, I want people to think about, why is upselling an absolute win for the guest? Forget us. Forget the fact that, yes, you know, a good upselling process will help either me drive my top line sales or improve my bottom line profit. You know, you've got the tools to do that. If you're lucky, you've got the unicorn of all things on your menu that does both of those things, that brings those sales in beautifully, but will absolutely give you maximum profits. But not everyone's got that. So for me, it's about kind of thinking, right, how do I get my team to utilize this effectively? And how do I get the teams on the high street to do it effectively? So I was thinking about... So I've had a couple of examples recently. I posted about my visit to Burnley this week. First visit to Burnley, Adam. It was lovely. Honestly,
I have to tell people to go watch that video, because it is freaking awesome. It is an awesome video.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, the town was cold and grim, so that's probably not the idea. But the people were amazing. They were really friendly, and the experience that I talked about was a place called Big B's, and it was just, this guy was just on it, you know, kind of, his business was built for delivery and takeout, not really for people walking up to the front counter. And the first guy I spoke to wasn't built for that either. You know, really, he's the sort of dude who should be kind of back minding his own business, kind of knocking out great food, but never ever talking to people. Whereas Big B just stepped up and took control and absolutely smashed it, and took me from being this kind of irritated, grumpy fella on a Monday night who's got into Burnley at 8:30, checked into a hotel, looked at a hotel restaurant and thought, that might be the saddest place in the world. Don't really want to go and spend any time there. And actually, he turned me around. You know, he turned me around, and I walked away with a fabulous pizza, with an amazing bag of chips, and a can of Vimto. I love a can of Vimto. It's just a simple win. So Big B's absolutely nailed it, because he asked 3 simple, logical questions that took me down the road of what information does he need from me to be able to make a great recommendation. Killing it. Then there's another example. I'm not going to name them because they are technically one of my favourite businesses in Nottingham, but there's a place in Nottingham that sells amazing cakes. And I was writing a presentation for somebody, and I was late as ever because I'm a procrastinator by nature. And I just said, right, I need to get this presentation done. So I went to my favourite coffee shop, sat down, I ordered a latte, a nice vanilla latte, beautiful, made me happy. 1 hour later, I've smashed out my presentation. I feel good. As a reward for myself, Adam, I think I'm going to go and have a cake because this place has got a beautiful array of cakes. And I'm a man who enjoys cake. It's pretty obvious
Me
to the
too.
world who sees me.
Me too.
I mean, we're in it together on this.
Yeah.
So I looked at these cakes, and they're like, I'd been eyeing up a cornflake tart for like 30 minutes, like while I was finishing off. But then I got up to the counter, and there's this absolutely beautiful Victoria sponge with kind of a raspberry cover, raspberry jam, and some vanilla ice. And I was like, oh my God, that looks good. So I'm like, that's got my name all over it. But again, I'm the kind of fellow that when I'm out and about, I give people the opportunity. And I think, we were talking just before, and you do the same thing. Like, I want to give people the opportunity to lean into me and for us to kind of have a bit of something going on between us in that moment of time, because I look for the entertainment value. So I'm clearly, I've been sitting there. I'm sitting 2 feet away from the counter. So this young lady knows that I finished my coffee. I've only had one brew to the time I've been there. I order my cake, and I've stood and waited, and I'm like, what's she going to do next? What will she do next? Will she take the opportunity that I put out for her on a shiny silver platter, or will she just let me walk away with my cake and my cake only, and that's me job done? That's what she did. She made no effort to kind of say to me, Kieron, do you fancy a brew? Because I see you finished your coffee. And what we've got is this beautiful loose leaf vanilla tea that will just resonate with that cake. It will bring you joy. It will bring you happiness. It's going to take that amazing cake and it's going to amplify the living daylights out of it. That's what she had to do. Now, not everyone is me. Not everyone's a noisy, loud, gregarious fella. But she could have just said, we've got an amazing tea that works so well with that cake, and it'll just, I see you finished coffee. Do you want one? Done. Happy days. Not everyone's going to use the big, colourful, floral language, but I'm a big fan of it. I think if you're going to engage with your guests, if you're going to take them on a journey, if you're going to bring them to you, then you've got to give them a little bit of something. You've got to give them a colour. You've got to give them some flower. You've got to bring them some joy. But all she had to do was say, do you want a cup of tea to go with that? Because that cake works really well with this tea. She didn't do it. And I just, in the end, I ended up drinking a glass of water, which was disappointing to me, disappointing to them.
Do you think technology can also help with that? Because I remember we used to work with Chilango. There's only one Chilango left now, which is still there. But I remember back in the day, they had a pop-ups on the till, like, do you want guac? Like,
Yep.
So as those little pushes, I think, and also, there's a challenge of, should you really, people are a bit nervous to have that conversation. But I think tech can sometimes help with, depending what they use, right?
Well, for me, it's about systems and process, and using tech to be part of that process to help the team. Because you're right, like, some people are nervous. The reality is we've got a generation of kids who didn't learn by osmosis, so they had 2 years where they didn't get to go out to coffee shops and restaurants and bars and watch and listen and kind of understand how those conversations worked. That's one of the key ways in which you learn how to do this, and they didn't get it. So yeah, if we can use tech to give them that little nudge, and like, genuinely, I think, I reckon about 20 years ago we were doing that, and it worked, and it was effective. Because I've run businesses in the past where they're quite left of centre, so you end up with these really cool kids who are just a bit too cool for their own good, who are then just thinking, I'm not going to get into that upselling business because that's what corporate drones do. And I'm like, you're going to fucking upsell. That's going to be the simple fact of life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Corporate drone or no corporate drone. But the nudges from the till, and I've literally just recorded a video talking about nudges, because in every other part of the world, you buy something because you've been nudged. You walk through a shopping centre, you're getting nudges. You walk through a supermarket, you're getting nudges. You walk through a department store, somebody's spraying perfume at you, you're getting a nudge. Whether it's online, whether it's in person, nudges are happening everywhere, left, right, and centre. So if you're not utilising them effectively to help your team to really deliver that great experience, then you're going to fall short. Because the reality is, managers and supervisors can't be there all the time to say, did you do the upsell? Are you going to do the upsell? You're going to do the upsell? Of course you'll do the upsell. You're going to do the upsell because it's the right thing to do. The till, using that system effectively, is a much more subtle and understated way of actually just giving them that little nudge where they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about that and I'll do it. And maybe for the first time, they do it like 1 time in 10. Maybe they start to do it 2 times in 10, 3 times in 10. If we can get them to the point where they're doing it 5 times in 10, but more importantly, as we've got that nudge, we're giving them the understanding because I think genuinely, I think one of the challenges around upselling is I think there's this weird feeling now that we feel like we're taking advantage of our guests. And I think actually you just need to flip it on its head and understand that actually a good upsell will do nothing but complement that guest experience, and
I
it will
agree.
add value to it and amplify it. So if you've got the nudge on the till to be able to do that, I mean, who was I listening to someday? They were talking about McDonald's when they introduced the kiosks, and how
Yes.
their sales actually went up when they introduced kiosks, because yes, those nudges would come along. They'd say, you might like this. If you love this, you might like a bit of that.
Well, the interesting note for McDonald's is that the method of before the kiosks were there, do you want fries with that? So if they never had the fries with that, their revenue model would have gone down by 70%. So just the do you want fries with that?
Yep.
Actually massively increased everything, because once you had the fries, then you were converting into meals and stuff. So I found that really interesting. But you're right, that once the kiosks are in, I mean, listen, people get jealous and looking at others, and they're seeing what you're doing, and then, oh, I could fancy that. So I think yeah, that side. I wanted to say, because before we started, I mentioned about that tipping thing. So the restaurant near where I work, we had a lovely lunch, and the guy went to pay the bill, and he pressed X on the credit card machine, which just had a tear. So I made him start again. But it reminded me, I actually went to a really, really nice restaurant in Marylebone, part of a hotel, beautiful restaurant, and the waiter walked away, put the bill down, walked away, and his colleague, she was Spanish, very like she must have been like an AGM or something, because she was running around, talking to people.
Yeah.
And she came up to her and she goes, "Did you have a great experience?" And I was like, "Actually, yeah, it was really good experience, really good food. Thank you." She goes, "My colleague's a bit shy, and he won't ask you, but I'm going to ask you. I'd love to give you, if you want to give a tip, it'd be great. Tips. The service charge is different to tipping, which we all know. And the guys I was with all in hospitality, and so my colleague's a bit shy. He'll give you great service, but he won't ask. But if you had a great experience, if you do want to, it's your choice." And she left, and I was like, that's the first time I've had that sort of interaction in a restaurant, but smile on all our faces. We 100% was going to give a tip. Was never not going to give a tip, except the guy that I was with is super old school. He's like 65, and he's like, service charge is included. So I gave a tip because I was paying anyway, so it was all good. But it was that
old school
experience.
feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. The old school feeling. He only wants someone to write down the menu on ordering. He only wants someone to, and so on. But that experience was really nice, and I enjoyed it. Isn't that weird?
Now think about the comfort and the knowledge that she has. So if she's able to come to you and say, "Did you have a great time?"
Yeah.
Because what she's saying is, "I know you had a great time.
Yeah.
I know my guy absolutely smashed it. I know the food was incredible." Because the reality is, I'm not going to come and ask you that question if there's even an opportunity for you to say no, because then it gets uncomfortable, and I've got to deal with a difficult conversation that wasn't necessarily coming my way.
Yeah.
So she knows you've had a great time. Because she's paying attention, and she does that wonderful thing of just coming in and taking that responsibility. She's done it so neatly. In fact, she's taken the responsibility from him, and she's taken that responsibility from you, and she's kind of just said, "Look, I'd love for you to do this because he's amazing, and he's never going to come and ask you for himself because he's a lovely, polite boy. But if you want to do it, that would be cool."
Yeah.
That's kind of it for me.
Yeah, I wish there was more like little training bits and bobs for more businesses to do that, because it's hard, right? It's hard, and that piece was amazing. I sort of want to bottle that. I mean, you do that, you sort of do it, that piece anyway, right? But I wish there was more people that would do that.
There has to be, and I think it takes bravery, to be fair. I mean, I was chatting when I was in Burnley. I was talking to some brands, and one of the things I talk about is when I was back in my days as an operator, if I went and did a check back at a table and asked, "How was everything? Did you have a great time?" and somebody said, "Yeah, it's fine." I'm the kind of dude that's pulling up a chair and saying, "I'm sorry, but fine's not what I'm here for." Fine, okay, good. No, none of that's it for me. So I'm sitting down and saying, right, so why were we only fine? Why were we only okay? What was only good? What can we do better next time to make sure you walk away and just think that was incredible? Because our goal is really simple in this right now. Your objective is one. When the guest is walking out their door, they're not thinking about if they come back, they're thinking about when they come back. That's your big objective. And every single touch point up until that moment is the opportunity to get them to walk out the door and thinking, I can't wait to come back here. You're now kind of talking about that restaurant in Maribor now. It's just, and now I'm thinking, well, I want to know who that is and I'm going to go there. That's a simple fact of life, because I love the fact that she's taken that responsibility. If we can't get our guests thinking about when they come back, we've got a problem, to be honest with you, because the world just presents them with so many options and so many choices. So let's make sure we're the other choice. We are the one that they come back to every single time. So give our teams really clear strategies to how they're going to be able to do that, because the next step for her is to get him to the point where he feels comfortable and bold enough to be able to come and say it himself, because she's not always going to be there, to be honest with you. And maybe the next duty manager isn't quite as considerate and actually quite as on point. So she needs to think about, how do I get him to just take that and get comfortable with saying, did you have an amazing time? Was everything cool? Because he needs to just trust the fact that he did do an amazing job, and any one of his guests are going to walk away and go, well, yeah, it was incredible, to be honest with you. Why wouldn't I tip? I mean, that version of your dinner mate who I went out for lunch on Saturday with my family, some of my extended family, and I love them. They're all lovely people, but Christ, they've got a terrible idea about tipping. It just infuriates me, to be honest with you. It's the same thing. It's like, but there's a service charge included.
I think because you've been there and you've been in the industry, you get it. I think it's a really interesting the line, because me, my wife, we let our friends leave, and then we'll just slip the tip in and off you go. So it is interesting. I think I wish the real stream, like live stream media, would be talking more about what service charge really is and what tipping really is and how that all works. I think it's an interesting conversation, and it is out there, but no one really, the public don't get it still, I don't think.
No, there's an education piece. I mean, I think there's a conversation to be had around what's service and what's hospitality, and what are you tipping for? You're not tipping for service. You're tipping for hospitality. You're tipping for that culture. And I got into it over Christmas. I was trying really hard, Adam, to be a better, more contained person. But TikTok's my place where I just go and argue with people. And this woman posted a video where she went on a 2-week trip to Orlando, and she was celebrating the fact that she'd eaten in places that meant she was able to avoid tipping anybody in that single place. And I was like, in Orlando, you were able to avoid tipping anybody for that 2 weeks. I was like, their life is built on tips. They're getting paid like $5 an hour or something. Come on, stop being tight. And I got into it with them, to be fair, because lots of the conversations and the comments that were dropping into that TikTok video were, yeah, that's fair. Service is what it is. And I was like, no, you're missing the point here between what is standard service and what you can expect from people when they're in a restaurant, in a bar, and what is that moment that does a little bit something extra, but it makes you go, ooh. Yeah. The little all moment of you go, that was nice, wasn't it? And whether that's I was watching a video, and the guy was talking about the fact that he was leaving a restaurant and he'd got a coffee, and it was a refill coffee, and the guy had said to him, the server had said, do you want would you like a refill before you finish? And he said, yeah. And he went, do you want it to go? Because I see you getting ready to leave. That's hospitality. Yeah, that's 100%. It. That's simple bit of thought.
Yeah. I tell you what, isn't there? So a colleague of mine, she lives in New York. She messaged me on WhatsApp the other day, and she said, I went to this coffee shop, I got a matcha latte, and I tipped, and I left. And she goes, when she left, she realized I just tipped, and I had the worst matcha latte ever and the worst service, but the mentality was to tip. And she's like, I got to remember that I'm not gonna tip someone if it's terrible, and if the service is bad. But it's an interesting mentality in the US, because obviously there's service tax and tipping, right? And it's very well known. Scott from On Hospitality said he went to Vegas. He got a taxi from Vegas from his hotel to where he was going. He knows the route, right? Because he's been there loads of times, right? Boom, done, and the guy went like all around the houses, and he didn't say anything.
Heard that lovely Leeds accent and thought, I'm having this fella.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And he got out of the taxi, he paid his bill, and no tip. And the guy screamed at him, "What the hell? What's wrong with you?" And he goes, "If you would have taken me to the place in the shortest amount of time, because you went the long way, I would have happily given you a tip, but you've chosen not to." And he went, "Fuck you," like this, and then he left. But it was a really interesting conversation. Like that was another interesting point in the US. But I feel that there needs to be little little like online tools, like in a Blender doing cool training, little training where people can, test out, or maybe internally businesses can test out on the younger generation
Yep.
of having that, that sort of tipping and having that conversation, the banter. I love the banter.
So there's an interesting point. Like, I was in the Peak District, midway between Christmas and New Year. I visited a little local pub and it was empty. It was like me and Karen were literally the only people in this place. It's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon or something. And the service experience, I did not have high hopes of Monitor. I just thought, I'm very cold now. I've been for a walk. I'd quite like just a nice brew and possibly some food. And actually, the service experience was amazing. And it was a young girl. She was 16, called Evie, and she smashed it from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Asked all of the right questions. She engaged in conversation. She was funny. She was on point. I just remember looking at her going, "Are you really?" I was like, "How old are you?" And she was like, "I'm 16." I was like, "You're lying." I was like, because at 16, I was not you. And that just makes me sad, to be fair. And I said, tell me, like, how is it you by nature? Are you trained to do this? She said, oh, well, I'm a hospitality apprentice. And I was like, boom.
Ooh,
Hello.
wow.
That's a starting point. And I was like, so how long have you been doing that? And she went 6 months. And I was like, so, and is the training that you get in your apprenticeship mirrored and matched up to what you're getting in the business? She went, oh, we get more in the business than we do on the apprenticeship. And I was like,
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
There is such a thing, and it's funded,
amazing.
Adam. It's funded.
Really?
These operators can get money to help them do this.
Oh, you've got to give me the link. I'll put it in the channel. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I think listen, the apprenticeship's the way forward. Interesting enough, when I had Mark McCulloch on, he was like, the government should have a rule where either you go into the army or you go into hospitality. Which I also think, because my nephew works at Sky News, and before he started, on apprenticeship he started. He's now there full time, which is amazing. A grafter, good banter. He's the loudmouth on.
Is he on Sky Sports News? Because if he doesn't want to be his friend.
Unfortunately not. No, normal Sky News. But they send him in. He's the mouthy boy who'd be like screaming at politicians because he doesn't care, which is awesome. So, but one of the reasons that helped him, he worked at a pub for about 7 months before he started, and dealt with difficult customers, the drunks, the hilarious people, the angry people, and so on. And he said, he actually said as well that it was an eye opener, because you end up redealing when I used to do events, right? So I'm used to dealing with people on the door and in the venue and managers. So I really think that having that little bit, just that little tea of hospitality, I wish it would be part of education. Do you know what I mean? Or just something where you can be immersed into it. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think? The tourists before they left were talking about the idea of reintroducing national service, and I think it's interesting, because if somebody was said to me, Kieron, do you want to go and join the army? When I was 16, I'd be like, that's a terrible idea, because I'm not very good at taking orders. It's not really my forte, to be honest with you. But if somebody then says, Kieron, actually, instead of going and join the army, you can go and do some time in an industry that's going to teach you how to communicate with people in the best of times and the worst of times, then okay, I'm going to take that, thank you, to be fair, because the skills that we teach those individuals as young people, and like, think about Evie, she's 16, but she nailed it. And she was natural. But there's an interesting point with somebody like Evie, that actually we've had a generation that was very screen focused, but now we've got a generation following them who are kind of pushing back on that. They're pushing back on social. They're pushing back on how much time do they spend in the digital world, and they want real connection. So a lot of people are still sitting there saying, like, Gen Z are all soft and weak and they're no good to us. But actually, don't badmouth Gen Alpha in that now, because they're the ones who are going to save us a little bit, if I'm honest with you. Because let's be clear, they've got that perfect marriage of like being digitally native, but also understanding that human connection is the thing that's going to make them happy. It's the thing that's going to bring them joy. So if they've got that perfect line that they walk down the middle, my Christ, Gen Alpha might save the day, mate.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I have a 14-year-old, and she will.
No wonder you always look tired.
and a 17-year-old who's now working, but she will put her phone at the end of the day downstairs to charge. Yep. And go upstairs, and she might watch an iPad or whatever, and getting ready for bed and stuff. But we'll put it away. And her mentality is, oh, if I need someone to contact me, they'll leave a message. If it's when she wakes up, obviously she'll grab her phone and she'll on Snapchat and so on. But and when she's it's really interesting, because it's not important.
Yep.
as such, right? And my eldest is like glued, but at work obviously is happy with. She got good banter. Yeah, that's me. Thank you. She likes to
Apples and
chat.
trees,
So
my friend. Apples and
yeah,
trees.
so she's got good banter, but it's really interesting, as you said. So she's sort of on the cusp of the alpha, right? And I reckon you're right. I think Gen Z. Yeah, I think you're right. 100% think you're
Now
right.
and again,
There's
I
hope.
have my little moments.
There's hope.
Just
There's hope. But
well, there is, but
okay.
we've got to lean into that. That's the key
Yeah.
of us. We have to, as old men,
Yeah.
like I'm 51 next week. That's a reality. So we've got to lean into understanding that they've got more to offer. So there's a massive change coming. I think, to be fair, but
I think it's a good
we get to be a
change.
part of it.
I know. Please send me that link for the hospitality thing. I'll post it. That's
apprenticeships.
amazing. I think
I
that would be
absolutely will.
that'd be amazing. Because I'm speaking to loads of people, friends of mine, and their kids some are going to uni, others aren't. Some are actually doing accountancy apprenticeships, legal apprenticeship, law apprenticeships, and which means they're working all the way through, and they get the qualification, and they've not got a 30K bill to pay,
and they're earning money.
Uni.
That's that's it. To be fair, it makes sense, to be honest. And as a man who never ever went to university but did learn quite well by kind of being in amongst things and getting it done, the apprenticeships would have made perfect sense, to be fair.
Yeah,
when I was a kid.
Me too. I left off. I got one GCSE in art, but I still went to uni because I found IT. But I left after. I failed my first year. I had too much fun, and I left after the second year. But if the apprenticeship option was more available, that would have been my route all the way.
Just makes sense.
100%.
It's another bee in the bonnet that more hospitality businesses need to be finding a way.
I agree.
I
think you need to do a little campaign about that, to be honest with you, because 100% get people in, and they'll be willing and eager, like Evie, right?
So that girl, I can't wait to go back to that place and see her again. I think she's going to kill it, to be fair. That girl's going to be running businesses very, very soon. I think you and I guess we were lucky. I don't know about you, but I was running a business, £1 million a year business when I was 21. It's kind of, that's quite rare, to be fair. Evie's going to be doing that. Evie's going to be in that world. So we need more people out there. So as you say, shout out Evie. She's probably sitting there thinking, why is this weird middle-aged man keep talking about me? You know what I mean? You shouldn't even remember my name, goddammit, but there you go. We've connected.
I'll put her LinkedIn on there. No, I'm kidding. All right. Thank you so much, Kieron. Really good to chat. Have a lovely weekend.
Pleasure. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me on.